How's it going, you sexy individuals? I'm Jake the Ashen Hollow, and let's get cracking to all this new lore the Ring City has presented us. So in this video, I want to talk about our favorite abyss-dwelling monster, Manus. Now I know what you're thinking. Wrong DLC, jackass, but just hear me out. So let me start with explaining the only complication I've had with my theory before we get into it. So when I play through new Dark Souls content, whenever I get new items and such, I immediately screenshot them, so as soon as I'm done playing, I can go and look at all the item descriptions and take notes and start writing up scripts and all that good shit. Since most of the time, wikis won't have them up yet, and they'll still occasionally get the item descriptions wrong regardless, so I like to just have the screenshot. So let me show you the screenshot I got of the White Birch Bow on day 1 of the DLC release. It reads, "A short bow crafted with white birch endowed with light manipulating magic. The bow is a relic from a land of an old sorcerer who was swallowed by the abyss and known for his role in the heroic tale of the Abyss Walker." So obviously that is in reference to Manus and what sparked this theory. Now what is interesting is, and I don't know when this happened, they changed the item description. It wasn't in any patch notes or anything, so this is what the White Birch Bow says now. A short bow crafted with white birch endowed with light manipulating magic. The bow is a relic from an ancient land of sorceries that was swallowed by the abyss, most known for its folktale of the heroic Abyss Walker. So basically it removed everything but saying Manus' name. Now we can still tie this description to Manus, but obviously not as easy as the former description. I originally thought, well, maybe they changed it because of a translation error. Then I thought that couldn't be the case. That's too specific of a change for it to be a simple translation error. That's adding completely separate words, not mistranslating the ones that are there. So I decided to do my best and see if the description changed unknowingly in the Japanese version of the game as well. Now I do not speak Japanese at all or know a translator, so I went at it with a full heart and Google Translate. And after poking around some forums and some chat rooms, I believe a handful of people told me that it did change. Now I don't know why they randomly changed it like that without any alert. My best guess is they didn't like how easy it was to pin Manus as the subject of the description, because you know how Dark Souls has to be complicated about everything. So I still firmly believe that the White Birch Bow is about him, but I just wanted to clear that up as we get into this bad boy. So the gist of things is that I think Manus and Dusk were in love, or that Manus was infatuated and obsessed with Princess Dusk, but the feelings were not reciprocated. I believe the DLC sheds quite a bit of light upon this, and with the White Birch Bow we can assume that Manus was actually from Ulasil, which is definitely interesting, and makes sense as to why he made his grave there, at least until, well, you know. So let's read the antiquated plain set's description. It says, "Ordinary garb from an ancient land of sorcery, the gold embellishments betray a faint residue of magic, but this clothing was never intended for battle. When a mission visited the Ring City long ago, one of its younger missionaries elected to stay behind. It was he who became the last recorded spear of the church." So this is obviously referencing Ulasil, and this is the garb we find Half-Light wearing. Here's what I'm thinking. 2 options. A, Half-Light is Manus. B, Half-Light is his son. I'm more so inclined to lean towards the former. Now just hear me out. Half-Life couldn't be Manus. Manus is dead and a beast. Loud and clear. But remember one thing, time is super convoluted in Dark Souls. I mean, we time hop like twice in the Ring City, and Solaire himself said hero century old, phasing in and out. And we see Half-Light is specifically summoned to the fight. So according to the laws of physics and time and gravity that Dark Souls does not follow, having Manus summoned into a fight pre-beast is certainly a real possibility. Now that's not nearly enough for me to sell you on him being Half-Light, so let's continue. There's something specific that stood out to me on the antiquated plain set, which is from Ulasil, and we can now deduct Manus was also a sorcerer from Ulasil, but the set brandishes a stone pendant, and if we take a closer look, we see a simple oval-shaped stone wrapped in either string or vine. Vine could make more sense since it's from Ulasil, but that just may be my wishful thinking. So let's read the description of Manus' precious broken pendant. It reads, "Half of a broken stone pendant. The vine appears to originate from Ulasil. A powerful magic can be sensed from this ancient stone. Yet men of this time can neither manipulate nor sense its power, which has a distinct air consisting of both reverence and nostalgia." A stone pendant already explains exactly what we see around Half-Light's neck. Let's look at the image of the broken pendant. We can immediately see that the half remaining looks like if it were whole, we'd have an oval stone pendant wrapped in a similar manner as half-lights, which just can't be a coincidence. The broken pendant stated that it had a distinct air of reverence, which basically means a deep respect for something or someone, which makes me think of Manus and the mission he traveled to the Ring City with and ended up choosing to stay behind to serve something greater than himself. So my two guesses on the pendant's origins is that he received it for going above and beyond from his fellow missionaries, or it could have been some trinket from Dusk or associated with her. I mean, he went crazy, furiously searching for it. Shit is of the utmost importance to this guy. Something else I found interesting is that Half-Life 3, Half-Light. Sometimes studying all this Dark Souls lore makes me say things that aren't gonna happen. Anyways, Half-Light is using a version of some sort of homing soul mass spell that we haven't seen before. It's made up of golden lights, which is what the magic of Ulasil is known for, but what's curious is that we can trade the soul of Manus to Snuggly the Crow to receive the other unique version of homing soul mass spell called Pursuers, which if Half-Light commanded this spell and went on to become Manus, it would make sense to see why this spell would also become Abyss Tainted. It also makes sense that Manus' name would not have always been Manus. Manus is Latin for hand, which correlates with, well, his gigantic fucking hand. Also interesting is that Half-Light means dim light such as at dusk, so we see here that that definition could definitely be a play on words. It could also be foreshadowing Manus' own downfall. He tried to do good, but eventually become overcome by the dark, hence Half-Light. Then of course this piece of evidence could have helped seal this theory, but now we have to take it with a grain of salt, and that is that Half-Light wields the White Birch Bow, which originally did all but come straight forward and say it belonged to Manus. Now with the description change, we have to do a little bit of speculation to tie it back to Manus, but it's what they originally wanted, so yeah, I don't know. Grain of salt, right? Then we have Manus kidnapping Princess Dusk and taking her to the Abyss. After we defeat Manus, we find her on the ground unharmed, and she eventually gets herself back to safety. I think it's a safe assumption that Manus did not intend to harm her, because I mean, it would have been way too easy for him to do so. Picture it, if you will, King Kong, a huge, terrifying, and horribly misunderstood creature infatuated with a woman he couldn't have, in a world that just didn't understand him. The same principles can be applied to this story, I think, and if Manus was Half-Light before, it would make sense that Dusk didn't recognize what he had become, as she never mentions having known him or who he was before he became the father of the Abyss. She does say, though, that she could feel the emotions surrounding the beast. I like to think, though, that they were both in love. It's a little happy for what Dark Souls is accustomed to, but I like that ray of light cast before the tale of Manus takes its tragic plunge into the dark. I like to think that when Dusk was captured for the first time, she may as well be Princess fucking Peach at this point. But the first time she's taken into the far future and held inside the golden crystal golem, assumingly by Seath, but that's neither here nor there. I think this is what could have caused Manus or Half-Life to abandon his post and go into his emotion-filled depression, as is the nature of man, and what drove him to lay himself to rest in his own grave. As we know, the primeval man under the curse of Gwyn's undeath couldn't actually die, until Koth's sneaky ass got the people of Ulasil to go poke and prod the poor lad until he snapped. Then, finding Dusk was back, he brings her with him into the Abyss, but it was too late for a happy ending. It's also interesting to think that we find Manus' broken pendant on a crystal golem in the Duke's archives, which are directly related to Dusk going missing in the first place. So perhaps Manus gave the pendant to Dusk as a symbol of their love, and it was shattered when she was kidnapped, and he may have thought she was dead or lost to him and furiously sought after his precious pendant, for if he could find it, maybe he'd find her. Another random tidbit, which is likely just more wishful thinking, but it's still interesting nonetheless, is that one of the iterations of the word Manus means branch of a tree, which made me think of the young white branch from Ulasil, which we know is the product of Dusk's first sorcerer's staff, so that's a little nifty, I think. I also mulled over the idea that Half-Light could be the son of Manus and Dusk. It's all in there in the name. Half-Light is kind of exactly the name you'd think of the kid of fucking Manus and Dusk. A dim light, such as at dusk, half good, half dark. The pendant could have been some sort of family heirloom or family crest-like thing. I don't know, they seem like they do weird shit with rocks like that in Ulasil. That Manus could have given to his son, but I just felt that if Dusk had had a son, she or Elizabeth would have mentioned it. The only way I see around it could be that he was conceived when Dusk was taken to the Abyss, but I don't know. It seems much more likely that Half-Light is who Manus was before the Dark took root. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this theory. I've had fun getting cracking at all the new possibilities that the Ring City has opened up, and I hope to find more interesting ones like this. Thanks for watching, everyone, and if you haven't subscribed, I hope that you will, and of course, Twitter, Patreon, Facebook, etc. links are all in the description below. Oh, and so is the Discord server, so come join in all the awesome conversations we have in there and catch me in voice chat. I always love chatting with you guys. Take care, everyone. Until next time.